Welcome to Gridiron Gamblers here on Pub Sports Radio. We are back on our main channel and we're coming off an excellent week. Andy, my friend, you swept the board 3-0. I loved seeing it. I went 7-3 combined. We went 10-3 plus 6.8 units, and it feels good. How you doing today, Andy?
And it feels stupendous.
Yes, it does.
Yes. It was a fun week, and not only that, but just I had some fun in the Monday night game. I didn't get a chance to catch what you did if you were live betting your face off again, but I caught some Chiefs at the right number and got some Chiefs to close the night out. It's always nice having and it was a fun game, especially since the Thursday game is going to suck so much balls, Jimmy.
I don't mind bum fights. I don't
Like
mind bum fights.
It's a bum fight with wind. Like
I got on the Chiefs plus 6.5 last
go.
night. So, but I mean, the plus 180 was staring me in the face. I could have done better, and unfortunately, I took the under 58 live. So that
it was what we land on 59. Good number
Yeah,
by
it was
them
that-
again. Just hand clap to the bookmakers, I guess. Give it to them.
Yeah, so it wasn't as good as it could have been, but I'm very excited about week 6. We are running really nice here. Andy, you cashed on the Indy Denver under 43, the Chargers Cleveland over 47, and the Eagles first half team total over 13.5. I cashed with the Packers first half -4, lost on the full game -8. I cashed on the Patriots -3. I added the Patriots team total over 24.5 on Sunday after our NFL Pub Hub. Those both cashed. I cashed on the 49ers first quarter -1, 49ers first half -3.5. We talked about the scripted plays from Shanahan, and I'm just going to keep going back to the well. Eagles first half was a casher for me, except the full game -5 was a loss. The Browns money line was a loss, and Tampa Bay Atlanta under 46 was a casher. Shout out to all the cappers who are joining us. We got Big Red said, love the live show last night. Helped me win some cash. Getting addicted to this channel. Keep up the great work. Love hearing that, Big Red. Jimmy McElvey ready to get to work. There's MDR 24 with the Astros tonight. We're not going to talk baseball, but some exciting action today in baseball. Danny Lopez, Bo Jackson, Real Deal Prime, Wine Time Sports. Birdie says, what up, everyone? NFL is heating up. Looking forward to work tonight, and that's what we do on this show. We get a lot of work done. Terry Walker, J-Dub, Peyton Weems, Slatsy, Real Deal Prime, Mad Stoney, B-Lab69. Thank you all so much for joining us. Andy, we're coming off an excellent week. I'd like to have another. Let's get to work, my friend. You ready to rock?
I think so. I've already got some looks this week, already firing away, and I think we're ready to go back to the well on some of these teams that have made us some money.
Let's go. Thursday night, we are off and rolling, 8:15 p.m. Eastern. Washington Commanders at Chicago Bears. We're at Soldier Field in Chicago, Illinois. So you were saying wind. I'm going to have to, because I have 48 Fahrenheit, 9 mile per hour wind.
It depends where you look. Some people have really, really latched onto the weather's going to suck. And it's just like, I do this every week with golf too, where it's like, I have like 9 different forecasts. So I don't know if it's going to be that shitty. I think it's going to be okay. I think it just might be the quarterbacks.
Well, the wind, so this is the situation right now at the Weather Network, and it's crucial, as we break this down. At 7 a.m., it's 9 miles per hour. At 10 a.m., it gets to 12 miles per hour. At 1 p.m., 16 miles per hour. At 4 p.m., 17 miles per hour. So it starts dying down. By 10 p.m., it's back to 8 miles per hour. At 7 p.m., it's at 11 miles per hour. So
I guess it depends if it does die down in the evening or not. We don't know if the wind is going to blow, but we do know Carson Wentz may blow. And that's I think that's kind of written in stone here. This game is a pick 'em. I think it's been +1 on both sides throughout the market. I don't know what do you have for an opener on this one?
Pinnacle opened this up Sunday night at 7:25 p.m. with the Bears -1, -108, and now they're -1, -106. So, but you're right. There was a time yesterday morning when Washington became slight favorites. Let me move over to that money line. It was very yes. No, there was a time Monday morning Washington became the favorites in this game, quite big actually. Minus 118 they got up to, and Chicago got to plus 106. Now there's been buyback on the Bears. From a total perspective, it opened up at 39.5. It's now sitting at 38.5. Let's take a look at the cash flow for this spot. We have 13,958 tickets in. 28% of the tickets, 34% of the cash is on Washington. Look, the Sharps have been on Washington consistently and have been losing because of that. And when we go over to the total, 71% of tickets and 86% of cash is on the under. Chip Plylar says the Bears can't fucking score. And Birdie says, yes, Sunday night Washington was -1. Peyton Weems says, I feel Wentz gets this one. There's Burgundy Bets and Brooklyn Funk Project. TJ Parks, thank you guys all for joining us. The look-ahead line before the season started was Washington as a 2.5-point road favorite. A lot has changed since then. The Commanders come in off their fourth straight loss, 21-17 home setback to the Titans. They were driving late when Carson Wentz was intercepted at the goal line by David Long Jr. with 6 seconds on the clock. Wentz sixth interception of the season, 25 of 38, 359 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. De'Ami Brown caught 2 passes for 105 yards and 2 touchdowns. Terry McLaurin, 5 catches for 76 yards. Curtis Samuel, 6 for 62. They were unable to get anything on the ground. Brian Robertson returned 6 weeks after being shot twice, and he struggled. He ran 9 times for 22 yards. Antonio Gibson, 3 carries for 6 yards. The Commanders were 1 of 11 on third down, and it just feels, Andy, like their offense gets worse every week. I mean, they scored 27 and 28 points in the opening 2 games of the season. They've gone for a combined 35 over the last 3. The defense was strong. Montez Sweat, 6 tackles, 3 for a loss, 2 sacks, 4 quarterback hits. They had 5 sacks and 13 quarterback hits, still without right tackle Sam Cosmi. And this Commanders team has been lit up by the best wideouts in the game. They've allowed 6 passes of 40 or more yards. They've allowed 7 different wide receivers to go for 60 or more. So let's start with this, Andy. Can the Fields-Mooney combo take advantage of that?
Yeah, it's not like the worst defense in the league. I think they're ranked right around 20th. It's a bad defense, and they've been exposed versus, like you said, good wide receivers. There aren't any on the Bears. Washington is a little deeper there, but even now, like, Dotson's going to miss more time. They've got other guys dinged up. Like you said, Cosmi's hurt. Wentz is on the injury report now with his shoulder. Mm-hmm. Apparently, it was more of a walkthrough with a little bit of throwing. He grabbed his shoulders a couple times. So I'm super not interested in betting that. Like, my numbers are very confused by these 2 offenses. Like, I don't run into every year we run into offenses that play this poorly, I guess. Maybe not the Bears as far as how little they actually throw the ball in the year of our Lord 2022. But to see them both matched up, my numbers can't make this low enough. Like, I would be betting an under if I just trusted my stuff. And it just, with the turnover luck and possible weather, and God knows what could happen. Like, I feel like you could lose this under on just some squirrely shit. All the unders aren't going to be as easy as last Thursday. People will end up in the end zone. I think I'd lean Commanders and under, but I'm full pass on this game. I want no part of the ugly bug, the bum fight that is.
Justin Fields, 15 and 21 for a season high, 208 yards, 1 touchdown. The TD pass was his first in 15 quarters in that 29-22 loss at Minnesota. He also ran 8 times for 47 yards. Montgomery returned after missing 1 game with an ankle injury. He caught 4 passes for 62 yards, but he struggled on the ground, 12 carries for 20 yards. Darnell Mooney caught 2 passes for 52 yards. The defense couldn't get pressure on Cousins. They sacked him once. They only hit him 3 times. Kendall Vildor had an interception. Roquan Smith battled through injuries to get 8 tackles. The Vikings were up 21-3 midway through the second, and the Bears defense started playing much, much better. But cornerback Jalen Johnson quad sat out for a second straight game, and linebacker Matthew Adams hurt himself in the third quarter. Finally, the final point on this is 18 of the last 26 games at Soldier Field have gone under. And we have big bets on the under, sharps on the under. But I'm hesitant to move on the under as well. I feel like this is the perfect game to bet live. You'll really get a sense whether they're moving the ball appropriately. The question is, for me, I think I'm pretty confident that Justin Fields will improve as the season goes on. But it's the Commanders are just getting worse week in and week out. Do you have any faith in Wentz whatsoever to put points on the board or to cover this? You're muted, my man.
I like Justin Fields at certain times. Like when he pulls the ball down and runs with it, that's been great. He got a couple of nice first downs against the Vikings, and I guess I thought Minnesota would have better luck getting pressure on it. They did for parts of the game. That was the thing I had kind of circled in the Minnesota game last week. Was Minnesota's had faced some really good offensive lines. The Bears is not a good offensive line. I think maybe the Commanders are able to get after Fields. Some of that is not just the offensive line too. He holds onto the ball a little too long when he does, drop back to pass. He's going to run into some sacks. I hate to bet such a shitty team on the road, especially there's a bit of a like, I don't know if you want to call it a schism. Just Ron Rivera asked, why isn't your team as good as the rest of the teams in the division? He said quarterback. That's not a vote of confidence. At that point, you just got to bench him because he knows you have no confidence in him. So, yeah, this is a probably Commanders or nothing. I can't bet the Bears even at home. The way they've looked on offense. And really, the Minnesota defense isn't. I don't have them that highly rated. The garbage points or the comeback, whatever you want. Actually, it wasn't garbage points. They led at one point. The Bears were sort of lively there a little. If they're able to run the ball, they can stay in this. But I think these numbers are pretty much bang on.
I have interest as well in the over. I think I'm going to keep a close eye on how this bangs out. But I am with Sky Dragon thinking about the over. I'm going to wait a little bit longer. That is our Thursday nighter. Papa Call says Commodores are a broken team. Brooklyn Funk Project says Washington team total under, but the market is sharp on this game. Coin says Coach Ron doesn't even trust his quarterback, threw him under the bus. There's Jimmy Gomez in the house. I have interest in this over. I might prefer to bet it live. If I see some late legit movement to the over, because look, it kept me off the 49ers Panthers under. I had planned on betting that under, but I saw it moving up, and I think I should start trusting these low totals that start moving up, and I hope to see that here, and I will move live on the over in the Thursday nighter. Let's move on, Andy, my man. We move to Sunday. Speaking of those San Francisco 49ers, we start with them 3-2, 1-2 on the road at the Atlanta Falcons, 2-3, 1-1 at home. We're at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. We had some ass clown mention that maybe people will watch our show if we knew how to spell the Falcons appropriately.
That's on Jose. He's not here. We can throw him under the bus. He's not here today.
We know how to spell the Falcons. It's a fucking joke, man. God, it did make me angry. Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia thinks we can't spell the fucking Falcons. Jesus Christ, man. 49ers come in off a dominant 37-15 win at Carolina, but the win was very costly. God, just seems like we go through this every single year. Injuries piling up on this 49ers squad. Let's start with the line history here. This opened up with Atlanta as 6.5-point dogs, and we are down to 5. This total opened up at 42.5 and has gone up to 44. Let's take a look at the cash here. We have slight line value according to Sports Insights on the Atlanta Falcons, 7,742 tickets in, 29% of the tickets, 63% of the cash on Atlanta. Sharps are on Atlanta. 64% of the tickets are on the under, but just 50% of the cash on that under. And we've seen it move up 1.5. Christopher Comatini says the Falcons backdoor cover machine. MDR24 says the Falcons, only team 5-0 against the spread. Are they 5-0 against the spread? They were the only 4-0 team against the spread. Now they're the only 5-0 team. Wow. Let's discuss this. And we'll start with the 49ers. So they lose starting cornerback Emmanuel Mosley to a season-ending torn ACL. They lose safety Jimmy Ward, who had just come back, to a broken hand. We know that Nick Bosa is out with the injured groin, and Robbie Gould has hurt his knee. Jimmy G was 18 of 30 for 253 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Cash in the first quarter, first half is very easy, and I won't be afraid to move on it again, even I think. But I'll have to hear what the chat and Andy are saying on this. Ayuk caught 3 passes for 58 yards. Kittle 5 for 47. Jeff Wilson ran 17 times for 120 yards and a touchdown. Tevin Coleman returned to the Niners earlier this year. We didn't have him last year. He was on the Jets, and he ran 8 times for 23 yards and a touchdown. Caught 3 passes for 44 yards and a touchdown. But they completely overwhelmed the Panthers. The defense came in having allowed 37 points through 4 games. Now has held all 5 opponents to fewer than 20. They sacked Merrifield 4 times before he was knocked out with the high ankle sprain. PJ Walker came in relief and was sacked twice. So they followed up a 7-sack performance against the Rams with 6 more here. That's the first time since the first 2 weeks of the 1985 season that San Francisco has been able to do that. And the 21 sacks on the season are the most through 5 games since they had 22 in 1998. So Shanahan said that he will know more about how long Ward will be out after he has surgery this week. Big shout out to our guy, Twate Latte. It says, I have the 49ers -9. No Patterson, probably no Pitts. How do the Falcons score? That is true, but let's just go over everything that's the 49ers are dealing with. That Sharps are obviously looking at. So Trey Lance, Trent Williams, Elijah Mitchell, Ty Davis-Price, Azeez Al-Shaair, Eric Armstead, Javon Kinlaw, adding to the players that they lost in the last game. Now, we talk about teams staying out east. They're doing that. They are in West Virginia. They didn't go home. And the Falcons won't be able to run on the Niners. San Francisco first in opponent's yard per rush and second in opponent rushing yards per game. Let's talk about the 49ers first, Andy, before we get into the Falcons.
Yeah, I think those injuries, maybe it doesn't cost them a win this week, but it might be costly down the road when they play some tougher opponents. It was a massive loss on their – I mean, the Mosley thing is they're both big. Mosley and Bosa, huge. I mean, you're starting to essentially – they're not all at the same positional group, but once you start losing a bunch of guys on the same side of the ball, it's pushing cluster injury time where, hey, this is a really good defense, but if you don't have to put 2 hats on Bosa ever because he's not on the field, it frees up a lot of things. And honestly, it probably helps in the run scheme too. Some of the run blitzes and just the I don't know, capital, the offensive line capital and tight ends and everything you have to put towards stopping him is not something you need to do now. And I get that the Falcons are missing some players, but I just look at how last week closed. And I'm not sure there's a lot of people that, let's say the Falcons and the Panthers played on a neutral. Now they're playing in the old St. Louis arena, wherever the Rams used to play. We put them together. I'm not sure anyone is making that a pick 'em. Like the Falcons are several point favorites in that. Like I have the Falcons 2.5 points better than Carolina. Again, I have them as my worst team, and they're about to take a downgrade with a different quarterback at this point. So the fact that last week closed at 6 and this week is still sitting right around 5.5, 6, I just can't agree with the number. The defense missing some pieces now. The second week, I get that they stayed in Greenbrier and they're not going to have to. I mean, nobody should ever, from here on out, should ever think about flying coast to coast to coast to coast like that too. Like find a place to stay. Everyone's doing it now. It's the smart move, but it's still a second straight road game. And I did bet some Falcons +6 today. You can still get that at Chris at like 117. Maybe for the show, I'll just knock it down to a 5.5. 5.5 -09 at Chris. Maybe there's a better number, but I will be on the Falcons at this number. It's I again by 3. Like what we saw last week, they ran it up, but you can say, hey, this is maybe time to sell high on Atlanta because they're 5-0 against the spread, but it's a sell high on the Niners as well. Like they've been hot the last few weeks. We got some nice wins. It's just more of a numbers play. This should be like 4 on the road.
I want to stick. Arthur Smith has been good. It's fair to say that, but I just want to keep betting the first quarter, first half on the 49ers until I lose. Yeah. And at this point,
Arthur Smith is your longest tenured coach in the division.
That's crazy. That's nuts. So I can get you a 6 at -115.
Yeah, that's exactly what I bet this morning.
Okay, cool. Let's get you that, Andy. Andy moving on the Falcons here +6 at -115. And I want to just stick to what's working, and the Niners early is what's working. And I'm not entirely sure. I'm going to watch the line. I mean, if it keeps moving I'll wait until I think we've hit the end. So maybe I don't bet this tonight. Because clearly the sharps are all over the Falcons, and everybody's going to be talking about that. And they're, and I can get a better and better line on the first quarter and the first half. So I'm just going to put my plan here to go right back to the well. Niners first quarter and first half. Cashed them both so easily last week.
Yeah.
And we'll Burgundy.
Yeah, I feel like there was kind of a Paul in that locker room too. That's like, I feel like not only did Matt Rule I'm sure that guy had feelers out in college already. Like he was ready to go. And I feel like the team, you can see how they performed. That team was not up at all for that game. Lame duck coach, the worst quarterback in the league. Yeah, it's a tough way to try to face a really tough team like that, the Niners. So selling a little on the Niners here on the second straight road game. Hopefully just Atlanta can keep it close or do that voodoo that they do and backdoor all the time.
MDR24 says when staying on the East Coast for the week, the 49ers are 4-0 straight up, 4-0 against the spread under Shanahan, the second game. Twadi agreeing with the Niners spot. King Art liking the first half over in this game. And Burgundy Bet says, remember, late to the party, early to the funeral. When's the last time a team went 6-0 against the spread? Brooklyn Funk Project says Atlanta put all their energy into the divisional with Tampa Bay. This is a letdown spot at home, in his opinion. We have Andy on the Falcons +6 at -115. That's still available at Bovada and Bodog. And I plan on just going right back to the well. Niners first quarter, Niners first half. Focus on what Jimmy G does with those 15 scripted plays. Get in and get out with the cash. With this Falcons squad, they were down 21-0 until the 13:39 mark of the fourth quarter. No Kyle Pitts, no Cordero Patterson. We don't expect them to be back. We know Cordero's not going to be back. It's
no.
Marcus Mariota, 14-25, 147 yards and a touchdown. He also ran 7 times for 61 yards, but the 49ers just won't let that happen. Olamide Zaccheaus caught 2 passes for 39 yards and a touchdown. Drake London, 4 for 35. The Falcons were outgained 297-89 in the first half.
Yeah, it was again, that despite what we saw against the Chiefs, that's still my number one defense. Like that's my Super Bowl team, baby. That's still, I added some more 12-1. I'm in love with the ceiling for that team. I almost bet them -10. I guess I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah, it was. I cashed.
Yeah, that was the first half. I wonder if they're like 0-5 first half. the Falcons here. I'm gonna have to go look at what their first half record. It feels like all of them have been, hey, we're coming back and getting within the number.
I cashed on them due to the under. I cashed on the under due to a breakdown from the Big Ragu on the Sunday show, and I was like, you're absolutely right. But I wasn't on it until I heard his breakdown. He moved on the first half. I ended up going on the full game, but they both worked. All right, we move on. 1 p.m. Eastern, New England Patriots 2-3, 1-2 on the road at the Cleveland Browns, 2-3, 1-2 at home. We're at FirstEnergy Stadium in Cleveland, Ohio, 55 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy. 12 miles per hour. The Patriots come in off a dominant 29-0 home win over the Lions. I cashed on the Patriots -3 and the team total over 24.5. But clearly, the sharper move would have been just to take the Lions team total under. Let's take a look at the line history in this one. We have the Browns opening up at -2.5. They're now back to 2.5. The 3 listed at Pinnacles at +109. This 3 was at -101 this morning, or yesterday morning. And this morning. So it's moved towards the Patriots over the last little bit. The total opened up at 42, -106 on each side at Pinnacle. It's now -115 to the over, so a 9-cent move to the over. Let's take a look at the cash flow in this Patriots-Browns game. I'm really excited. About this game. I can't wait to watch it. 7,666 tickets in. 36% of the tickets and 51% of the cash on the Cleveland Browns on the spread. I'm only going to give out spread numbers here. And 59% of the tickets, 69% of cash on the under, and it seems to be moving slightly to the over. Dizzy Rothstein in the house. He moved on the Browns -3, -101 last night. Patriots coming off that dominant win. Bailey Zappi, 17-21, 188 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Jacoby Myers caught 7 passes for 111 yards and 1 touchdown. Hunter Henry caught 4 for 54 yards. No one else caught more than Ramondre Stevenson's 2 passes for 14 yards, but Stevenson was an absolute monster. Damian Harris left in the first half with a hamstring injury, did not return. Stevenson ran 25 times for 161 yards. Pats finished with 2 sacks, 6 quarterback hits, and Judon had both the sacks. He's a sack in every game, leads the league with 6. The Patriots stopped the line 6 times on 4th down. And Nelson Aguilar has a hamstring injury that we don't know quite the extent of, and cornerback Jonathan Jones left with an ankle injury. I don't know if you do know the extent of the hamstring injury, but for the Browns side of things, they lost a tight 30-28 loss at home to the Chargers. Cade York missed a 54-yard field goal with 11 seconds left, also missed a 45-yard attempt. Brissett, 21-34 for 230 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Njoku caught 6 for 88. Amari Cooper caught 7 for 76 and a touchdown. And Donovan Peoples-Jones caught 40 for 50. This offense is really good. Nick Chubb ran 17 times for 134 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Kareem Hunt ran 11 times for 47 yards, a touchdown, and caught 3 passes for 10 yards. So now they're 6th in the league in points per game, 11th in points in yards per play, and 5th in touchdowns per game. 4th in the NFL with 396.4 yards per game. And they're averaging 26.6 points per game. I mean, this offense is absolutely rolling right now. The defense had Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney back and did not look good. Neither had a sack. The Browns' only sack was delivered by Jacob Phillips. And as a team, they only had 2 hits on Justin Herbert. They were incapable of slowing down the Chargers' run game that came into the league last in the NFL on the ground. Eckler destroyed them for 173 yards, a career high on the ground. The Chargers finished with 238 yards rushing. That's 174 more than their average, and Denzel Ward is in concussion protocol. Is this a bad Browns defense, and how do you plan on attacking this, Andy?
It is a bottom 5 defense right now, despite having some big names don't always equate to, I don't know, good play, and it is especially – it is, PFF has them last. That's more of a subjective grade that they give them. But I'm pretty close to it, too. I have them right there with the Texans as far as the worst rushing defenses. That was part of my handicap last week with the over. I said, despite everything, both teams are going to be able to just run the piss out of the ball. And they certainly did. If you look at – what was it? Oh, I'm looking at the Colts game, but it was 450 roughly rushing yards combined between the 2 teams last week. That's a lot. If they're not able to get pressure on Zappy, which I'm not 100% sure they are going to right now, they're going to be able to move the ball. Stevenson's fine. Patriots very live dog here, but I did take this over because not only do I think like Stevenson and just whatever the game plan is, as long as they involve the run as much as they've been doing recently, obviously it worked. Like Eckler wasn't having a good season. It was an ultimate get right game for him. He was just fine against this. I think anybody basically who's going to get like 15, 20 totes is going to have one of their better days of the season against this Browns defense. So if they're fine running the ball, I think they're going to be successful, especially in the red zone. And then I really don't think that highly of the, certain parts of the New England defense. I mean, I have them just middle of the pack. They're right in the middle. Like Judon's been great. Somebody asked me this morning, they were able to find a 50-1 on him for Defensive Player of the Year. And like you said, he has the counting stats. He has the sacks, and Bosa's hurt. Micah Parsons is dinged up. I mean, there's TJ Watt's hurt now. Like that wasn't a bad shout by that guy in the DMs, but yeah, I'm on this over. I got, I think I ended up just with the number we have here. It hasn't really moved. There's probably some worry of weather, but the wind don't matter when both teams want to run the ball. And like, we said, it doesn't, last week, the Chargers, they're almost as bad as the Browns. I think I have them as the 4th worst run defense. The Patriots are better. Again, still middle of the pack, little below average. But it's anybody who's not a good run defense isn't going to be able to stop Chubb, Hunt in that run scheme. And Brissett's quietly kind of playing well. Mm-hmm. So I'm fine with Browns to, basically get me 20, 25 apiece. We're good. This total's a little low for me. So I'm on the over here.
Over 43.5 at -108 at Heritage. Does that work for you? Yeah. We will go with that over 43.
Oh, over 43. Is it jumping up that much already?
Yeah, it's 44 at a lot of books.
Chris has 42.5 right now.
Right now. See, I've got them at 43.5. Interesting. So maybe this isn't.
Are you looking at an odd screen, or do you have?
No, I don't have Bet Chris up. Yeah. So.
Sure. Yeah, I actually let me refresh just to double check this isn't jumping on me. No, but yeah, no, it's still 42.5. This has not taken much action, and yeah, we should have parlayed it with the Guardians, I guess.
I like that. You're in over 42.5. I find it surprising that the bigger bets are coming in on the under. We have 59% of the tickets, 69% of the cash, and yet the total seems to be rising as if to welcome anybody betting the under. I also worry. I just won 2 bets on the Patriots. It's fresh in my mind, and it's obviously affecting my feelings for this football team. I want to back them again, and that always happens to me. And I always have to say it out loud just so I'm aware that the reason why I want to back them again is because I just cashed on them.
Yeah, and there's been some fighting between the 2.5 and 3. It seems like there's some two-sided action. I think the Patriots are the better team here, despite being on the road. But I would want to take the points. I would want to take the 3, and right now it's a little spendy. Like it's minus 119, minus 1. I don't bet plus 2.5s. If I'm going to bet that, I'm going to take it straight up, and I probably just don't need to double down on a game.
Sky Dragon on the plus 3, Toite Latte, looking at that team total over. I like both of those looks. Johnny Gilpatrick says, New Week, Jimmy, I think the Pats cover the 3. I want to back the Patriots. So team total over and plus the points. And that's what
I don't hate that. The team total. You get like a 20.
Yeah.
I kind of like that.
It correlates.
The Browns defense is low-key horrid at certain points during that game.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Brissett's been, Brissett's, the last thing you saw of him wasn't great, but he was pretty good. He's been pretty decent throughout the season. That pick was just egregious, though. 900 yards in the game last week between the two teams.
Wow.
I think we can get 800 this week. That's all it takes.
Brooklyn Funk Project says Zappy on the road. I really like this kid. I think about your Rookie of the Year bet almost every day across his.
Yeah, we're gonna find out how he reacts to playing in the dog pound era.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a really fun game. I can't wait to watch it. All right, so we have Andy on the over 42.5, and it's the Patriots team total and Patriots plus the points that I'm going to be staring at when I load in my action tonight, which is what I've been doing all year, waiting for us to break down the games and then moving. Even if I miss a couple spots, it's saving me from losses. Let's move on to
talking about the markets too a little, Jimmy. Papa Calls brings us up in the chat. The Cleveland total got bet down last week as well. Like it got bet down. It got early action, then it got bet all the way down to 47, and it was pretty much a no doubter. I don't know if somebody's bound and determined to bet the under in these Cleveland games, but such is life.
We move on. New York Jets at Green Bay Packers. We're at Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin. It's starting to get a little cooler out there. 49 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 11 miles per hour. And Bobby Saleh taking on his close friend and the brother of his offensive coordinator, Mike LaFleur, taking on Matt LaFleur. This one will also be a lot of fun. Look at these Jets go. Let's start with the line history here. This opened with Green Bay minus 7.5 at minus 106. It's better to go the other way because the Jets opened plus 7.5 minus 106, and now they're plus 7.5 at minus 122. It's moved to 7 at most books. From a total perspective, opened up at Pinnacle at 45, and this got up to 47. Now sitting at 46, but it got all the way up to 47. Let's take a look at the cash flow on this one. We have just over 10,000 tickets in, 60% of the tickets and 67% of the cash on the New York Jets. Then 85% of the tickets and 95% of the cash on the over, but it was deemed too high at 47. All right. Jets come in off that impressive 40-17 win at home over the Dolphins. First 3-2 start since 2017. Their first win against a division rival since 2019. Zach Wilson, 14 of 21 for 210 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. And he's just changing everything in that locker room. He says the expectation is changing. We are expecting to come in here and win and be shocked when we don't. Breece Hall was incredible. He ran 18 times for 97 yards and a touchdown, caught 2 passes for 100 yards. The defense looked strong all afternoon. They finished with 2 sacks, but 16 quarterback hits. Carl Lawson, John Franklin Myers combined for 12 quarterback hits. Sauce Gardner continued to show why he was the 4th overall pick in this year's draft. It was his first interception, but he also came in on the blitz that knocked Bridgewater out of the game and got the intentional grounding safety. And defensive end Jermaine Johnson was carted off with an ankle injury, and that hurts to lose that rookie. Packers come in off a surprise 27-22 loss in England to the Giants. I thought I was in business. I thought everything that I had planned for that game was coming to fruition. Yeah. I cashed the first half. I said, watch Rodgers put on a show. I really and then it all fell apart. Rodgers, 25 of 39 for 222 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Randall Cobb, 7 for 99. Aaron Jones had 13 carries for 63 yards, caught 2 for 17. But, and this is what I want to really focus on here as we try to figure out our angle in this game, the defense couldn't get stops when they needed them. They allowed the Giants to go 6 for 11 on 3rd down. They finished with 1 sack and 4 quarterback hits. We believed that this was an elite defense in the preseason. Both the Patriots 2 weeks ago and the Giants this past week did whatever they wanted when push came to shove. The Packers are 14th in opponent yards per play. They're 21st in opponent red zone touchdown scoring. They have never lost back-to-back games in the same regular season under LaFleur. They do lose Christian Watson, which shouldn't be too big of a deal. Let's start with this Packers defense. Is this just an average, mediocre defense?
It's below average. It's one of the defenses I've had to downgrade the most. And I'm always willing and ready to downgrade defenses based on my priors, based on where I have them before the beginning of the year, especially on that side of the ball. You know, offense is different. A lot of those upgrades or downgrades are usually based on injuries or somebody new coming into the system and overperforming. But defense, usually it's just really, really hard to predict. Like I said, you can have a bunch of good players and it just doesn't work out sometimes, the scheme, or sometimes it's just the opponents. And the Packers, yeah, they're a bottom 10 defense right now. They've looked really bad. You can remember Daniel Jones is bad enough that the team didn't even take his 5th-year option. So the last 2 weeks, they have a guy that the team doesn't believe in. And then a 7th-round rookie. I'm trying to think where Zappy got drafted. It was pretty deep in the draft. Like, is there was that? I'm trying to remember. Was that the game that Hoyer started and then got knocked out?
Yeah, it got concussed.
So it was Hoyer to start and then Zappy. So like the quarterbacks they're facing, that's pretty damning for this defense, obviously. And, you know, it's another week where we're going to see a young runner, a lot younger than Saquon, but Breece Hall looked good. Obviously, some of those passes, he was just wide open. There was a lot of green. I blame the Dolphins more for some of that, but he's looking good. They have Wilson, Sauce Gardner's been playing. Like it's a Jets team that's definitely overperforming. And it's another one of those too, where, hey, the Jets just had a really nice result. We should be selling high on them, but in what world should we be, laying a lot of points with this Green Bay offense that did nothing in the second half, that opted to not take the bye after traveling to London like most teams have done? And this is another team that's done it. 4 teams now have done this. And somebody in the chat asked about that. Minnesota and New Orleans played last week after coming off the London bye, or the London game. Both kind of covered. I guess Minnesota was a push for a lot of people. Some people got a good Bears number. And the Saints, but what can you take away from that Saints-Seahawks game? I mean, that was a wild-ass clusterfuck of a shootout. It's hard to really I guess both games had more points than were expected, so I do kind of like this over. I think the Jets can move on this offense, on this defense. And Green Bay has weapons. Like, I don't expect to see what we saw in the second half all that often. If the Packers if push comes to shove and they're forced to throw the ball and forced to move fast and score to try to keep up with the game, I think more often than not, you'll see them doing so. Like, it just was such an aberration, that second half over there in London. I don't think that's what we're going to see more often than not. And yeah, I do like this over 46. I'm going to bet that. It's a good running scheme. It's starting to get into sync with some of the receivers. I don't think Watson is a big glass. And I'll get the Jets, as much as it should be sell on the Jets now that it's high and Wilson's not that good. They have enough weapons. And somebody Alex point this out, like, they have some decent wide receivers. The Giants have no wide receivers, and they did what they did. The Giants are legitimately probably the worst wide receiving room in the league at the moment until they get some people healthy. So you have the Jets front seven playing well. We'll see what happens, but Jets are probably live to cover this. I like the over a little more than I like the points. So I lean both ways, Jets and over. I'm going to take some over 46, I think, was the best price. I got that at Chris as well.
Yeah, I can get you that at minus 105 at Bovada and Bodog.
There we go.
I like that look. I told myself, and I'm sort of doing it with the 49ers, although the angle's a little different, the first quarter, first half angle that I have with them. But I told myself that I would not buy any team high all year. So if I'm going to follow through with that, it means there's no bet on this football game.
Yeah. And it's a tricky slope too, because it's like, at what point is truly the market topped out on a team? It's not like a team hasn't covered 2 games in a row, 3 games in a row, Falcons 5 games in a row. And sometimes the market is just way too slow to react to a certain team. And I do think they're there with the Jets offense for sure. And that's where I like this over a little more than the points.
I do think that this team believes in themselves, and I want to bet the Jets, but then I would be
I said both New York teams, I don't think either of them has found their quarterback, but they both found their coach. Like, obviously Dable's great, and I do kind of like what Salah's been doing with the kind of not the best of rosters.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I have to not bet it. I just have to stick to this rule.
That's kind of where I'm at too, is where I prefer the over to the +7. If you get a 7.5, boy, that's awful tempting.
I'm gonna have to stay off. It's and I hear you, Birdie, and I respect you guys for backing the Jets. I just have to stick to this rule. I have to. If I start slipping up now, when will it stop? It won't stop. Okay, Andy has moved on the over 46. I find this a very interesting game that I'm going to keep working on. Let's move on. Next up for us, 1 p.m. Eastern, Jacksonville Jaguars, 2-3, 1-2 on the road at the Indianapolis Colts, 2-1, 1-1 at home. We're at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, Indiana. We'll start with the spread in this one, or line history, I should say. We have this opening up with the Colts -1.5. They're now -2.5. A 1-point move over towards them. This total's gone from 40.5 to 41.5. So it's gone up a point. Let's take a look at the cash flow here for this one. We have Sports Insights giving slight line value to the Indianapolis Colts. 51% of the tickets on them and 86% of the cash. Then we have 81% of tickets and 97% of cash on the under. And yet this has gone up a point, as confusing as that is. The Jaguars come in off an ugly 13-6 home loss to the Texans. They lost despite outgaining the Texans 422 to 248. Trevor Lawrence was 25 of 47 for 286 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Marvin Jones caught 7 passes for 104 yards, and Evan Engram caught 6 for 69. Travis Etienne ran 10 times for 71 yards and caught 3 passes for 43 yards. They scored 6 points in 3 red zone trips. Their defense was strong. I mean, they held the Texans just 248 yards. They had 1 sack, 5 quarterback hits. But Caleb Von Chason left the game with knee injury, and he's not going to be back soon. And they played without Fatukasi, who's inactive last week after his week 4 quadriceps injury. So he's been out for a week. And I'm not sure if he's going to be coming back. They also lost their left guard, Ben Barch, to a knee injury. Colts come in off extra rest and prep after their 12-9 overtime victory on Thursday night. Somehow, I mean, if you've been watching this team play today, somehow they're 2-2-1. It's unbelievable. Matt Ryan was 26-41 for 251 yards, no touchdowns, and 2 more interceptions. He was sacked 6 more times. That's 21 on the year. Alec Pierce got 8 passes for 81, and Pittman caught 5 for 59. And then Deion Jackson came in. So they had no Jonathan Taylor. Then Nyheim Hines gets concussed immediately. And Deion Jackson came in and looked good. He ran 13 times for 62 yards. He caught 4 passes for 29 yards. This Colts defense looked strong, even without Shaq Leonard. DeForest Buckner, 2 sacks. The team had 4 sacks and 8 quarterback hits. Rodney Thomas, Stephon Gilmore each had interceptions. And Kwity Paye dealing with an ankle sprain, a high ankle sprain, so he's probably not going to be available. They also lost starting center Ryan Kelly to a hip injury. So they have issues, but they have extra rest and prep, and I don't know what to do with this Jaguar team. I can't wait to hear your breakdown. Can you shed some light on Jaguars Colts?
Yeah, is this our first rematch of the year? It has to be. Like, these two teams played each other already. Like, this is it's only week 6 and we're getting the double down. But yeah, this was a couple people pointing this out already. For some reason, the Colts have just had tons and tons of trouble. They lost 24-0 to the Jags on the road. It just makes no sense how poorly they play against this team. I'm kind of there. I don't think they should be a 2-point favorite. Again, it was a really poor output on the scoreboard, but it was a really good output as far as yardage. I'm not sure what we're going to do as far as game plan here. I trust Peterson. I don't think you're going to – it's been 2 weeks in a row where there's been a big problem. 2 weeks ago, it was Lawrence had way too many turnovers. Last week, it was just they couldn't convert. They couldn't convert in the red zone. I don't see them losing big. This is one of my favorite teaser legs. Like getting them at +2 in a low total game. I don't think this total is going to get blown out of the water. If it does go over, it'll be like in the mid 40s. Like I think the total's probably right on, but it is a lower totaled game, right in that Wong teaser zone. So I'm gonna have them in a 6-point teaser with a team we'll mention later when we get to them. I won't spoil the good surprise, but yeah, it's just one of those. It's a math teaser, like a basic strategy teaser, whatever you want to call it. Otherwise, yeah, the other move would be to back the Jaguars on the money line, and not all about that right now.
Yeah,
I just don't see them losing by like 10 points here. Close game, one way or the other.
I wish the Colts didn't have these issues against the Jaguars, because I want to back the Colts here on extra rest.
Yeah.
This is a team that's bent but hasn't broke, and you would expect them to break after what? Like, I mean, they've looked so bad, but they seem to they have their head up. What's the story on Shaq Leonard? We expect him back, right?
I think so. That's been such a. It sucks trying to answer these questions so early in the week, but it was concussion, right? Like, yeah. I think he still has to, like, you still have to figure out if he can clear protocol on that. Like, a lot of that is just out of their hands. He has to pass tests with the neurologists and stuff. So we'll see what happens. I guess I'd lean towards him not playing if that concussion was pretty bad. So. I will give Indy some credit. I have Denver as a pretty high-end defense this year. I mean, a lot of things that have gone wrong for that team. It was a tough defense. It was such a beautifully ugly game. Like, I remember bitching and moaning, and then I realized, like, oh yeah, I have the under. Like, no, this is a perfect game. I love this game. Like, they should all be like this. There was I bet an under in a game. There's no touchdowns. I knew some people who bet no touchdowns scored. Yeah, at 100-1. Gorgeous tickets. So beautiful. I think we're going to see more of that. It probably isn't that bad, but I don't see the Colts winning by margin. I'd love this teaser leg.
Leal says he put 500 on the under 40 at plus money. I'm going to move on the Colts. This was not a plan. This has happened after all of this breakdown. I expect Shaq to be back in the lineup here, and I'm going to look into that a little more. I don't know if anybody else has any information on that, but I'm going to move on the Colts here. I think this is the time to get in on them at home against a team that has given them fits, that they know are a problem, that they will be, hyper aware of the struggles that they've had against the Jaguars. And all of a sudden, the Colts could win this game and be set for a playoff spot. Not set, obviously, but 3-2-1,
Getting there. Yeah.
Okay, the Colts is a move that will be moving on. I don't like the idea of fading the Jaguars, selling them at such a low price, but I don't think this is a good football team. I think that the struggles that they're having are real and will continue here, especially if Shaquille Leonard's back. All right, I love it. Johnny Gilpatrick also. Oh, Johnny Gilpatrick got it on the -1 early. Great job. I'm gonna have to suffer the consequences, but this wasn't on my radar as a plan. This happened through us breaking it all down. Colts is going to be on my card. I will bet them tonight. Let's move on. 1 p.m. Eastern. Minnesota Vikings 4-1, 1-1 on the road at the Miami Dolphins. 3-2, 2-0 at home at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens, Florida. 83 Fahrenheit, mostly sunny. 12 miles per hour. We'll start with the line history in this Vikings Dolphins spot. Pull it up right here. There we go. Oh shoot! Sorry, little mistake there. Pull it up right here. Here we go. This opened up. Of course, Pinnacle not. No line from Pinnacle. Of course, they're very scared. A very scared book. Let's go to Bet Online. Our friends at Bet Online. This opened up last Tuesday with the Dolphins at -1. Last Tuesday. So that was a long time ago. Now, after the issues at quarterback for the Fish, they are 3-point dogs. 3-point dogs. So by the 9th, so by Sunday morning at 1:20 in the morning, the Dolphins were -2.5. So there's been a 5.5 point move towards the Vikings, and I get it. From a total standpoint, it opened up at 46.5. It's now at 45.5. Let's take a look at where the sharp action is in this one. We have line value, even though TBD is the quarterback for the Dolphins. They have given line value to them. 52% of the tickets and 94% of the cash is on Miami. And then 66% of the tickets and 97% of cash is on the over, but it's dropped a point. This is tricky. Burgundy Bet says this is saying that Tua is playing. Is it fair to say that I think there's no chance that Tua plays?
Yeah, I mean, he's come out and said that he's not ready to even do any football stuff, as he called it. Like, Tua is probably multiple weeks out, and Teddy's still in the protocol. Like, right now, it's more than likely you're seeing Skyler again in this one. So you'd be Skyler versus Kirk. That's what everybody and it's tough to bet with the uncertainty of it. Feels like some of these protocol moves, these it's like, oh shit, like suddenly he's fine. Like, hey, he cleared, he's good. You just never, there's no clarity where it's like, hey, it's a high ankle sprain. Guy's going to miss 4 to 6 weeks. That's just how it is. Like, that's how long it takes to heal with these. It's just, you never know. Like, if Teddy played, it wouldn't be surprising at that point. Getting Miami +3 would be awful nice. That's the entire handicap, man. Keep a super close eye on the move and be ready to pounce on Miami +3 if you get Teddy in here. Teddy's a big upgrade over Skyler, and Minnesota's defense, not that great, although Miami's defense is not either. I tend to lean towards this over as well. I hate that I'm looking at so many overs in in a season where the scoring has been a little lower than in seasons past so far. But yeah, this Miami defense didn't really, I don't know, give me much confidence that they can stop a Justin Jefferson and a Dalvin Cook who looked pretty good when they couldn't stop Breece Hall and Wilson. It was pretty ugly at times. So I don't know. This is an ugly one to stay away from until we have a little more clarity. But yeah, the everything I read on Tua, it's like we're not getting Tua for a while.
Both teams, as you said, have been bad defensively. Vikings ranked 26th in opponents' yards per play. They're allowing 6 yards per snap. Dolphins are even worse at 6.1 yards per snap. They're coming in, the Vikings, off that 29-22 home win over the Bears. They're alone at the top of the NFC North and have not looked good. These have not been dominant performances at all.
Oh, they had to come back against the Bears and Lions. This is a semi-fraudulent 4-1 team. Like,
agreed.
Get the shit kicked out of them by the Eagles, and I mean the Packers had no wide receivers essentially week 1, and you've got like one half decent win, I guess. Yeah, they're getting it done, but it's not been pretty or convincing.
They've been losing with less than 5 minutes left in 3 straight games, and they've won them all. Cousins, 32 of 41 for 296 yards, a touchdown and a pick. He opened with the franchise record 17 consecutive completions. Justin Jefferson passed Randy Moss for the most receptions in the player's first 3 seasons. Moss needed 48 games, and Jefferson did it in 36. I mean, he's a monster. 12 catches for 154 yards. Dalvin Cook ran 18 times for 94 yards and 2 touchdowns, caught 2 passes for 27 yards, but they didn't get much pressure on Fields. They did slow down the run game for the Bears. They held them to 3.3 yards per carry, and their rookie cornerback, Caleb Evans, was put in concussion protocol. The Dolphins, I mean, that was an ugly 40-17 road loss. Talked about the Bridgewater injury. So, he also has the elbow injury. So he's in concussion protocol, but there's also an elbow injury on top of it. They've said that Bridgewater doesn't have any concussion symptoms. He's passed the tests. He's fine. It's the elbow that's the problem, is what I've taken from it at this point. I expect him to be good to go. Do you think that's a mistake here? Do you think I could make a bet here and all of a sudden see Skylar Thompson?
Yeah, and that's where I'm worried about this over, and I'm willing to wait on it. Like, I want to know it's Teddy. I want to know that Tyreek and Waddle are healthy. Like, there's just too many ifs and buts, candies and nuts for me to get too involved in this, and on a week where there's a lot better options. But yeah, I tend to like this over. And then also just with a young quarterback like that, of all the bad things I've said about Minnesota, their pass rush is still kind of good. They have a couple of nice pieces in the pass rush. You just didn't see it the first few weeks when they went up against, the Lions, the Eagles. These are top 5 offensive lines. I mean, they really were able to just stop anything that they were doing in that pass rush. If your offensive line's dinged up a little and your quarterback's a rookie who wasn't planning on starting or even sniffing the field, third string, that might be a bit of an issue for Miami. So I worry about Miami contributing to that if it turns out to be a little bit of a disaster now that they have some film on the kid. So if we get some Teddy, I'll probably be involved in this over. But for now, I pass on grass.
Do you have any concerns about Tyreek Hill? He was in a walking boot.
That's the other part. Like, it's so many. I think he plays. I think it's fine. I think it's just precautionary. But again, like, I would feel really bad if I had an over if Teddy's not playing and Tyreek's out. I don't need that. I don't need that in my life.
And the Teron Armstead toe injury is an issue. It's been dealing with it all year, so it looks like he's going to need some time off. All right, interesting. Because the defense, both defenses have looked so bad.
Very bad.
So I can understand the look or the lean, at least at this point, to the over, especially if Bridgewater is under center. Let me just take one last look at this again. At this point, all the money is on the over. Just 66% of the tickets, but all the money. And yet it's dropped a point. Dropping a point makes me think that maybe Skylar is going to be under center. But Raheem Mostert sure looked good. Finally gave them a running game.
Yeah, he had a good game.
Again, we have not seen them with a running game in a long, long time. A few years since we've seen them have any kind of a running game. 18 carries for 113 yards and a touchdown. All right, I get this. Possible over if Teddy's in. All right, let's move on. We move on to Cincinnati Bengals at New Orleans Saints at Caesars Superdome in Louisiana. Will heading back to Louisiana spark Joe Burrow? Bengals have averaged 21.6 points per game, and Burrow sitting here with 9 touchdowns and 5 picks. Not very good. Let's start with the line history here in Bengals Saints. And what a wild, you touched on that Saints Seahawks game. We'll touch on it again here, but that was just some wild action in that one. This opened up with the Saints as 1.5-point dogs. It has not moved. They're 1.5-point dogs here at Pinnacle. Juice hasn't moved either. There has been a 9-cent move to the over. 43.5 minus 106 is now 43.5 minus 115. There we go there. Let's take a look at the cash flow in this one, Bengals Saints. And here we go. 5,737 tickets in, and it's all Bengals money. Look at this. I know the sample size is very small here with 5,737, but 89% of tickets, 99% of the cash. Let me do a little refresh and see if that, I mean, that just sounds crazy. But that's where it is. All of the early action has been on the Bengals, and the market is not moving, or the line is not moving. 54% of tickets and 74% of the cash on the under. 54 and 74. And what is the total done? It's gone a 9-cent move to the over. So confusing, conflicting information. Also a small sample size. The Bengals coming off a 19-17 loss at Baltimore. All three of Cincinnati's defeats have been on field goals on the final play of the game. That's just wild. Burrow 24-35, 217 yards, a touchdown and a pick. Hayden Hurst led receivers with 6 catches, 53 yards and a nice touchdown. Jamar Chase got 7 for 50, and T. Higgins went without a catch and left with a left ankle injury. Mixon ran the ball 14 times for 78 yards. Bengals got 3 sacks, 4 quarterback hits, and Von Bell had a pick. Saints coming off that wild 39-32 home victory over the Seahawks. They put up 444 yards of offense, with 235 of it coming on the ground. Andy Dalton, 16-24, 187 yards, a touchdown, a pick, but Taysom Hill was the star. He threw one 22-yard TD pass, 1 for 1. He ran 9 times for 112 yards, 3 touchdowns. He returned kicks. He was incredible. He's the third NFL player since 1970 to rush for 100 yards and 3 TDs while also passing for a score. Kamara was a monster. Returns from his rib injury, runs 23 times for 103 yards, catches 6 passes for 91 yards. He did lose a fumble. Saints were missing Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry, and now it looks like Chris Olave will – we don't know. He's in concussion protocol right now. Marshawn Lattimore left with an abdomen injury in the fourth quarter that needs to be looked at. Take it away for us here, Andy. Bengals Saints.
Yeah, this is the game I have probably the least bit of a read on. Like, the Saints have been a weird team. We've had multiple injuries all over the place. You're playing with their backup quarterback who's well past his prime, and they just go and, I mean, honestly, they should have beat the Vikings. That was a game that they probably should have had. They deserved a little better there, and they put up a shitload of points. Like, how is this offense doing this? I guess Taysom, and I've said that for many, like, even when he was quarterback, he was quarterbacking, and they put him out at receiver, and he caught something in the flat, and like, there was a little corner that wanted no part of tackling him. Like, he is a menace in space. Like, I love that they're using him finally as, probably his strength. So if they incorporate that and Taysom's playing well, Olave comes back, I guess it's a scary offense down the road, but I don't know if that's super repeatable. They do get home here against a team that's been pretty up and down. I guess it depends how you feel about this pass rush for the Saints. It's been, I don't know, pretty below average as far as I'm concerned. I think the Bengals, that's the biggest thing, is if the Bengals aren't getting pressure against Burrow's been fine. Higgins is banged up, but they still have pretty good wide receivers. Jamar Chase hasn't got a lot of buzz this year. I mean, it was every week last year he did something. It was some wild catch or some big game. It's been pretty low key for him this year. So if this Saints pass rush continues to be poor, I think the Bengals are live to do something. But yeah, these numbers are pretty nuts on for me. I think I'm fine with either of these, and I pass hard on this game because I really don't understand if the Saints can keep this up with the amount of injuries they've suffered, and if the Bengals are truly just hard regression from last year.
Yeah, good points. Another an interesting point from Birdie too. Not Flush Allen, what up, my man? Birdie says, "Do the Saints have their O-line back yet? No bet yet in this, but I will most likely be on the Saints in some capacity on Sunday." And he says the stagnant line is very telling in his opinion. I'll be very interested. I mean, this is crazy with the small amount of tickets in, right? It's Tuesday night, 5,700 tickets in, but it's all on the Bengals, and we're not seeing the market move towards them. So I will definitely be keeping my eye out for that. There's DX Filer in the house. All right. T-Mac says Cincy get right spot, but Orleans off a win and motivated makes it a tough spot. Okay. And Wick says both teams are above average. LSU fans going to support Burrow. And Perfect Rotation says, how does this game not go over?
What up, DX Filer?
Okay, let's roll on.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, I think maybe we're prisoner of the moment. We've seen this offense have 2 good weeks in a row. Yeah, and the Bengals defense is not top 10, but they I have them as it's a middle of the pack defense, honestly. And like what are they gonna have to stop? They're gonna have to stop Kamara, and I don't have them as a terribly good rush defense. I don't have them as it's a decent pass rush. It hasn't been special. It's definitely above average. Coverage unit has been okay. Like, I think they're going to be able to cover all right, but maybe that's what we're seeing here. We've had a banged up wide receiver core against a good coverage unit, but yuck. Yeah, yuck with this one for me.
More information to get in this spot. Let's move on. Next up, 1 p.m. Eastern, Baltimore Ravens, 3-2, 2-0 on the road to the New York Giants, 4-1, 2-1 at home, MetLife Stadium, East Rutherford, New Jersey, 62 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 6 miles per hour. What a difference a quality head coach makes. Let's take a look at the line history for Daboll and these New York Giants. We start with the Giants opening up as 4.5-point dogs, and it's 5 now. This 4.5, which was a minus 111 a little while ago, is now got up to plus 111. It's sitting at plus 106. So a big move towards the Ravens. From a total perspective, I should say big, but a legit move towards the Ravens. The over opened up minus 106 at 44.5. It's now minus 108. So just a 2-cent move, but there was an initial move to the under. It's come back to the over. Let's take a look at the cash flow here in this one. Sorry, pull that up. Don't Tap Podcast. Great to see you. Let's move up these cash flow numbers here in this one. Ravens, Giants. They've given slight line value at Sports Insights to the Giants. There's 7,679 tickets in, and 56% of the tickets on the Ravens and 88% of the cash on the Ravens. Then you have 71% of the tickets and 70% cash on the over, but clear move towards the Ravens, who just snapped their 2-game home losing streak with a big 19-17 win over division rival, the Bengals. Justin Tucker kicked a 43-yard field goal in the final play for the win. The guy's just unbelievable. I mean, he's just a lights out. What a gift it is for that team to have a guy like Tucker. 61 straight successful field goals in the fourth quarter and overtime. That's one of the craziest stats you'll ever hear in sports. Just nuts. So he's 17 for 17 in his career in the final minute of regulation. I think the guy's just money in the fucking bank. I mean, that's just Lamar Jackson, 19 of 32 for 174 yards, touchdown, a pick. He also ran 12 times for 58 yards. Mark Andrews, another big day. 8 catches for 89 yards and touchdown. Devin Duvernay caught 5 for 54. The defense had its best game of the season. 3 sacks, 5 quarterback hits. Patrick Queen had an interception. Baltimore now 19-2 in primetime games at home under Harbaugh. I mean, look at that stat. Jesus. Ravens safety Marcus Williams left with a dislocated wrist. He's going to be out for some time. Ronnie Stanley was there, and what a difference he made for the first time since last season's opener. And these are 2 really good rushing teams, 2 top 5 rushing teams. Baltimore, and listen to this from a passing perspective, and this is wild. So Baltimore throws the ball 29.8 times per game. That's 25th in the league. New York throws the ball 27 times per game. That's 29th in the league. But the Ravens are top 10 in yards per pass. That's a huge difference. The Giants are 30th. The Giants come in riding high after that 27-22 comeback victory over the Packers in England. It's the best start since 2009. They matched their win total from last season, and they scored on 5 consecutive possessions after having a couple 3-and-outs. They were 6 of 11 on third down, and Daniel Jones played very well with the banged-up ankle. It didn't seem to bother him. 21 of 27, 217 yards, ran 10 times for 37 yards. Saquon Barkley, 3rd consecutive game with more than 100 yards from scrimmage. Slayton, 6 receptions for 79 yards. I mean, this wide receiving core so beat up. They needed him badly. And they completely shut down the Packers in the second half. This defense maybe is legit, although they lost quarterback Adoree Jackson to knee and neck injuries. And Leonard Williams was inactive with a knee injury, and they still look good. Can't wait to hear your breakdown here. This one's going to be fun. Ravens, Giants.
Yeah, it's been a fun team, the Giants. I still think somebody says turn into a pumpkin. That's probably it's not super sustainable how they're winning, but they're rallying behind the coach. They believe they're playing hard. Like none of that stuff you can put in a spreadsheet, but you got to give him some credit there. He's, like I said when we talked Jets, they have the coach. They're at home. This number is just at first glance, this number is a little big. But if the Ravens win, the Ravens truck. Like, if you want to bet the Ravens, just sell this out to 6.5. Like, the Ravens aren't winning a close game if they win. I think it's been a bad run defense. Not horrible, but they're giving up 5 yards a carry on average. It's bottom 10. Dobbins is looking good. Lamar had some bad moments last weekend. Like full disclosure, I took some super late +3 in that game. Probably got a little lucky with that one. I was happy to see him struggle, but when he's been on this year, he's one of the best players in the league. Obviously, he's the former MVP. And yeah, if the Giants are going to give up big runs again, Dobbins and Lamar might just crush this team. It's going to be something to see. Like this is a true proving ground. Like you got to get this one. You know, you can say, oh, the Packers, Packers have a horseshit defense. Packers don't really have receivers. Like that was a nice win, but I don't put the Packers as like a super high end team anymore. This is a team that's probably going to vie for a deep run into the playoffs if everything goes right, if they're going to stay healthy, if the secondary gets better. So, yeah, I think both teams are going to be able to run the ball pretty well. And I would lean towards the Giants, but that's another one too, where I think if you want to bet the Giants, I'd maybe just bet them straight up at home to win. If you're going to take the money line, or if you can take the spread, take some money line for it too. Because if they're competitive to win the game, not just keep it close or backdoor this 5. And the same thing goes for the Ravens. I think if the Ravens do win, they win by volume. The offense gets going real good. I will say for Dable, he's made good adjustments, both not just people talk second half adjustments, but like in-game adjustments. I think they really, really did get a good coach. They need a quarterback and a few more pieces, and this is kind of a scary team next year. So if they can get some contributions from some of the young players as they continue, like Thibodeau's healthy, and this could be a fun team going forward. I think they may get their ass blitzed this week, though.
Yeah, I have interest in the Ravens. I'm not sure how to get in. I think the line is very telling. At Bet365 right now, the Ravens are 5-point favorites. So you would think you'd be able to get them first half -3, on a 5-point spread, but not a chance. It's -3.5, and it's -115 on that 3.5. So you talked about Dable's adjustments. They think that the Ravens are going to come out, take care of business early, and that Dable will figure out how to manipulate the positives on his side of the ball and take care of business. DX Filer says 5's always trappy, especially for the road. DX Filer says first half -3 is a better bet, probably. I agree. Birdie says, but Packers on the road with a banged-up quarterback, no wide receivers, and they had to put in Wildcat, and they won. Last week was a statement win, not touching this game, but if Giants get blown out, it means nothing to me. Oh, interesting. And Brooklyn Funk Project says if this stays at 5, that will be his Pub Sports Radio Cappers contest pick. Brooklyn Funk Project having a nice year in the contest. I love it. Interesting. Okay, so move on at this point, but do you have a lean in the total? Lean to the over?
Yeah, I think it's correlated. If you like yourself a correlated parlay and you have a book that lets you do it, like Ravens -5 in the over, I think in a case where this turns into a Ravens romp, they're putting up like 30 points, guys. Like it could turn into a Lamar puts on a show. We've seen that at least once this year, and we've seen it many times in his career. So, and truthfully, Dobbins too. I love Dobbins right now. If he's healthy and fine, like he's running. There's been some. I guess it's the year of the running back. We've had a bunch of guys just come up and start running angry.
And Netflix says perfect live bet spot. Let Baltimore score. All right, let's move on to the final 1 p.m. game on our card. Tampa Bay Buccaneers 3-2, 2-0 on the road at the Pittsburgh Steelers, 1-4, 0-2 at home, Acrisure Stadium, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 58 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 8 miles per hour. Let's move on to the line history here in this one. Bucks Steelers. Let's see how this one's going to bang out. We have this total dropping, but let's talk about the spread first and foremost. Tampa Bay opening -7.5 at -107. I know there's 8s in a lot of books. This is -7.5 at -112 at Pinnacle. From a total standpoint, as I said, dropping. I guess I was looking at an offshore opener that wasn't Pinnacle. Pinnacle opened this at 43. It's now at 44. So it's gone up a point over there. Let's take a look at the cash flow here in this one. We have, where is it? Sorry, here we go. We have slight line value towards Tampa Bay. There's 10,075 tickets in. But listen to this, 19% of the tickets are on the Steelers and 43% of the cash. So expecting a bounce back performance after the debacle in Buffalo. 67% of tickets on the over and 91% of cash on that over. Sanka, it is great to see you. Thank you for joining us. Bucs snapped their two-game losing streak with a 21-15 win at home over the Falcons. 11-0 now for Tom Brady versus Atlanta, including, of course, the Super Bowl comeback win. And he hasn't lost 3 straight starts since 2002. Brady, 35 of 52 for 351 yards and a touchdown. Fournette ran 14 times for 56 yards and a touchdown. Caught 10 for 83 and a touchdown. Mike Evans caught 4 passes for 81 yards and Godwin 6 for 61. Rookie tight end Cade Otton looked good, 6 receptions. Bucs defense bounced back from last week's horrific performance, or 2 weeks ago against the Chiefs. Finished with 5 sacks and 10 quarterback hits, and they're still dealing with a ton of injuries. So you have Julio Jones with a knee injury, Rashad Perriman with a knee and hamstring injury. You have safety Logan Ryan with a foot injury. Cameron Brate still in concussion protocol. Defensive lineman Akeem Hicks out with the foot injury. They were all inactive, and they lost 3 defensive backs in the second half. Starting quarterback Carlton Davis was the first to go out with a hip injury. Then Sean Murphy-Bunting and safety Mike Edwards left the game. So there's a ton of injuries right now with this Buccaneers team on both sides of the ball. Steelers coming off their 4th straight loss, 38-3 setback. They were the biggest underdogs in the history of their franchise, and they showed why. Down 31-3 at the half to a team that was missing 3 wide receivers and their starting tight end. The loss was the biggest margin of defeat since 1989. Kenny Pickett's first career start, 34-52, 327 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. George Pickens got 8 for 83. Deontay Johnson, 5 for 60. And there was a Chase Claypool sighting finally, 5 for 50 for him. They got nothing at all out of their run game. 17 carries for 54 yards. Their defense was atrocious. And they have now even more injuries. So let's just go over the situation with the Steelers' injuries. TJ Watt, Terrell Edmonds, their starting safety. Their starting cornerback, Ahkello Witherspoon. Now, Edmonds is in concussion protocol. Ahkello Witherspoon dealing with a hamstring injury. Then they lose cornerback Cam Sutton with a hamstring injury during the game. They lose tackle Larry Ogunjobi to a back injury during the game. Minka Fitzpatrick has a knee injury that's going to be monitored all week. Their cornerback Levi Wallace is in concussion protocol. He did have an interception before he went out. I mean, that's a lot to deal with. And then to make matters worse, they lose Pat Freiermuth to a concussion in the 3rd quarter. This is a team that ranks 30th in yards per play this season, 4.8 yards per snap. This is a team that's in trouble. And the Bucs aren't doing it much offensively either. 20th in yards per play, averaging 5.3 yards per snap. Take it away here for us, Andy. The Bucs at Steelers.
Yeah, Kenny Pickett, he gives you an opportunity for some bigger plays than Mitch Trubisky, but some of those bigger plays are going to be heading in the opposite direction. He is a walking interception so far. I kind of like that he's, I kind of like that he's willing to just go out there and play. Like, he's not tentative at all. Maybe he turns out all right, but man, talk about 2 weeks in a row going up against, and again, it's a Buffalo team that I think defense isn't as good as it's been in years past. It's still a good defense. Now going up against another tough defense here, at home at least. But, I I have Tampa Bay as a much worse offense, and a lot of that is just due to the injuries. Like obviously Buffalo's great. Like I don't know what you can say about Josh Allen. He's your MVP. Honestly, he's my MVP right now. So like that's just a really tough ask for the kid. They should have put him in the week before when they had all this time to prep. They had 10 days of the game before. This is the other half of my teaser leg. This is 8 at most places. Like this is going with the Jags. So I have Bucks -2, Jags +8 as a teaser. This is a low total. I don't think it's wise to lay a big number like this on the road with an offense that has struggled a little despite how bad Pittsburgh's looked. And that said, Tampa still may cover this. There are so many injuries to this Pittsburgh defense, like losing the heart of your defense and TJ Watt right away, and then having multiple other injuries to not only the pass rush, the front seven, but Christ on a bicycle, like the whole secondary, including Fitzpatrick. Like that's super important. This whole defense is banged up. Tampa Bay might just run Lenny 25 times, throw him the ball 10 more times, hit some tight ends, and call it a day. Like this could be another ugly one. Pittsburgh should tank at this point. Like they should go get themselves another quarterback. But this is another lower total. I like this a lot in a teaser.
Interesting teaser. DX Filer said he was looking at that very teaser. Bucks -2, Jags +8 for Andy. We have different looks here. We have our guy Sky Dragon, Pittsburgh, and the under. And then we have Tuate Latte with Bucks team total over 26.5 and alternate spread -13.5 at +160. Says Buffalo could have won by 50 last week. Michael
Yeah, they really could have.
Easily. Yeah. And he's even looking at the -20.5 +360. Leo said it says easy lay with the Bucks. Only way this game is close is if Kyle Trask starts. Mike Morris in the house. What's happening? Michael Everlina says Pitt just got throttled trying to pass and keep up with Buffalo. They're going to run, keep the ball out of Brady's hands. DX Father says taking any team with Tampa is tough because they just don't care how they win.
Yeah, so I like the teaser. And to your point, like the Bucs defense, very good if they do have a weakness, and it's still not a weakness. It's still they're a very above average run defense. That's a slight weakness. They can give up some runs, so I would absolutely, that would be my game plan, is to run the ball quite a bit, to kind of do what you did with Mac Jones in New England last year. Take the ball out of his hands. Don't ask a lot out of him. And try to keep the ball on your side of the field. I think they'll be doing that anyway, but try to keep the ball in your hands, win the time of possession, win ugly. That's how you compete, I think, in this one.
Buccaneers, Steelers, no move for me at this point. Like I can understand the breakdown towards the under very easily, but sitting here and seeing that 67% of tickets and 91% cash is on the over and it's gone up a point would be enough to keep me off of it at this point. But I get it. I like your teaser as well. Let's move on. That was all the 1 p.m. games. We move on to afternoon action. We start at 4:05 p.m. Eastern. Carolina Panthers 1-4, 0-1 on the road at the LA Rams 2-3, 1-2 at home. We're at SoFi in Inglewood, California. We will open up with the line history in this one. Pull it up. Here we go. We have the Rams opening up as 8.5-point favorites. They are now 10.5-point favorites. From a total perspective, it opened up at 41.5. It is now 40.5. Let's take a look at the cash flow and see if it all correlates here. And we have the most line value in this entire card, according to Sports Insights, is the Rams. 7,477 tickets in. 64% of the tickets and 87% of the cash are on the Panthers, and it's moved 2 points towards the Rams. 58% of tickets, 66% cash is on the over. Panthers coming off an ugly 35-17 home loss to the Niners. Cashed the first quarter and first half on the Niners. Felt very good. It was the final straw for the Panthers ownership group. Gone is Matt Rule, fired after the game. Baker Mayfield running for his life out there. 20 of 36, 215 yards. No TDs, one interception. The interception was returned 41 yards by Mosley for a TD. Mosley, whose season's over, sadly. And Mayfield didn't finish the game due to a high ankle sprain and will likely be unavailable this week. Sam Darnold injured, so P.J. Walker will be behind center. The offensive line couldn't contain the 49ers pass rush at all. The Panthers quarterbacks were sacked 6 times, hit 9 times. Smith caught 4 passes for 69 yards. DJ Moore caught 4 for 59. And McCaffrey ran 14 times for 54. The touchdown, caught 7 for 50, and was in trade talks for the last few days. Rumors. The defense had a difficult time pressuring Jimmy G, 2 sacks, 5 quarterback hits. The Rams coming off a very disappointing 22-10 loss at home to the Cowboys. I was very close to moving on the Rams first half, but Big Ragu and Bobano on the Cowboys, and I listened and I just stayed off. Would have loved to have gone on the Cowboys with you guys, but at least I saved money. They were shut out in the second half, now below 500 for just the second time in McVay's 6-year history as coach. Can you believe this? Imagine hearing this start with Stafford healthy and Cooper Kupp healthy. They rank 32nd in yards per play. 32nd, 4.8 yards per snap. 31st in yards per carry at 3.2 yards per rush. Stafford was 28 of 42, 308 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He also lost 2 fumbles, the first one taken for a TD by DeMarcus Lawrence. That was the third play from scrimmage. 3 missing starters on the Rams offensive line, and they look terrible. Cooper Kupp, 7 catches for 125 yards, 1 touchdown, but they got nothing from their ground game. 15 carries for 38 yards as a team. Aaron Donald, 2 of the Rams, 3 sacks. They got 6 hits on Cooper Rush, but they couldn't stop the Cowboys on the ground. 163 yards rushing they allowed. Left guard David Edwards left the game in the fourth quarter. He's in concussion protocol. He missed last week's game in concussion protocol, so he's going to be out. So that would make 4 members of the offensive line unavailable, and Taylor Rapp out with injured ribs. Take it away for us, Andy. Panthers, Rams.
Yeah, I think DX Filer kind of hit it on the head, and yeah, it's true. I did bet. I had a championship futures bet on PJ Walker with the Houston Roughnecks. I wish that season would have completed. That would have been awful nice. They were good. That is said, he is still a downgrade from Baker Mayfield. And a lot of that has to do with apparently just how they've decided to use him, just watching kind of what we got of him, even in mop-up time. If they're not going to let him run a little, he's not a pocket pass. Like, he's not going to be good. It's going to be pretty bad. The Panthers have a really, really bad squad. That said, this Rams offense is horrific, and a lot of it comes down to the coaching because they have the talent. But if you are going to take a replacement-level running back behind a bad offensive line and just pound him into the A gap on first down over and over, set yourself up for second and 11, third and 8 every time. And they know all we have to do is try to take Kupp away at this point, honestly, and force you to, beat you a Skoranek on these third longs. Like, this Rams offense is going to continue to struggle. I don't understand how a Super Bowl winning coach with essentially the same damn roster, and yeah, the offensive line injuries are tough. It's just taken such a step back in what this is as an offense. So the play sequencing, the play calling for Los Angeles has been absolutely goddamn puzzling. I don't know. You can't like I said, this is my worst team. Carolina is my 32nd ranked power ranked team. That isn't like some of it is subjective, but it is like my numbers. This is what I put together. Like, if I put them on a neutral against every other team, they would be at least a half-point underdog, if not, to like the Bills, Chiefs, a big underdog. Obviously here they're 10.5. Maybe they get the dead cat bounce with the new coach, but man, like you said, they're talking about trading players. They're starting a quarterback who's not an NFL level quarterback. It's awful hard to really bet either side here. And really, my numbers say Carolina, despite having them as the 32nd team. I don't have them as 8.5 points worse than the Rams right now. So even with the home field advantage, I don't make this 10.5. And yeah, no thanks.
Yeah, Papa Carl's saying the same thing. Says my numbers say take Carolina, but I just can't bet it. Clint started the Die Hard MMA podcast. Says, how funny is it going to be when the Panthers beat the Rams outright? This is strange. The Panthers getting tickets and cash on their side, and it moves from 8.5 to 10.5. Do you want to trust a Ram squad without an offensive line? Looking at all this, it would be nice to take an under here, but I don't even think I can do that. Were you going to touch on the total?
Yeah, I mean, kind of. And somebody points says, yeah, you can't really take Cup away. Yeah, you can't, but at the same time, they scored 9 and 10 points in the last 2 games. Like even with Cup, doing what he's done, it's an offensive line that is completely decimated. There's still a probability that Stafford's elbow isn't 100%, and they've got poor ass play sequencing where they've just been bound and determined to run Cam Akers. So, woof. Yeah, this is a stay away because I just don't feel like betting on the Panthers.
Yeah, I agree. This is going to take some more time.
This could literally be, this could be the Panthers don't score.
Yeah, I find it interesting here that you have, what do we have here? We have 58% of tickets, 66% cash on the over, and it's dropped a point from 41.5 to 40.5, just welcoming that over cash. That makes me think this game is going to go under, and I would like to be on it when it does. So I'm close to moving on the under here. I think I'm going to take a little bit more time on it. I don't think I'm going to bet it yet. Brooklyn Funk Project on the Carolina team total under.
God, what's that, like 15?
It's so low. So for me, I only take team total unders on favorites. I never take them on dogs unless it's like a certain angle that I can completely.
I had Atlanta's last week, the under, and that was one of those where it's like, hey, here we go, and then they got squirrely at the end because it doesn't take a lot of. Sometimes those go to hell in garbage time.
Yeah, no doubt. But I'm not saying that's not a winning bet, Brooklyn Funk Project, by any. It's just that I kind of kept out a black and white thing where I only take the favorites, team total unders. Let's keep rolling. So no action at this point, but I'm very interested in the under in that one. Very interested in the under, but there could be garbage time mayhem. That might be a better first half under.
That's not a bad take. Under 20 or something first half.
Yeah. Because who knows what's going to happen late in this game when, especially if the Rams are up by quite a bit. At least I know they'll stop trying. But they want to get right, too. I guess I would lean to a first half under at this point. Okay, let's move on. 4:05 p.m. Eastern. Next up, Arizona Cardinals 2-3, 2-0 on the road at the Seattle Seahawks, 2-3, 1-1 at home at Lumen Field, Seattle, Washington. 72 Fahrenheit, sunny, 5 miles per hour. Very warm on the West Coast right now. Just warm and beautiful weather. It's not rained also in like so long out there. They had like a tiny, unmeasurable amount of rain in like the last 50 days or some shit. So it's gorgeous out there right now. Let's take a look at the line history here for this one. We have the Seahawks opening up +2.5 at +103. They're now at that +2.5 at -104. So there's been a 7-cent move towards the Seahawks. Let's take a look at the total. Opened up at 51 over at Pinnacle. I know it opened up lower at some of the offshores that put it out before the Saints game, but it's opened up at 51 at Pinnacle, and it's at 51 right now. And the move has been towards the under. It's moved 15 cents. It opened up at 51 with no VIG on the under, and it's now at -115. So that's where we stand there. Let's move over to where the cash is on this. We have 8,814 tickets in. They've given the Seahawks slight line value, but it's a pick 'em basically. You have 52% of the tickets on the Seahawks and 47% of the cash. Then you have 46% of the tickets and 66% of the cash on the over, but it looks like that 15-cent drop. So the Cardinals come in off of the 2017 home loss to the Eagles. Their 8th straight loss at home dating back to last year, but they head out on the road. Some crazy stats. The Cardinals have not scored a point in the first quarter yet this season. I mean, that's just nuts. Matt Amendola missed a game-time 43-yard field goal with 22 seconds left, but very questionable decision-making put them in that situation. And Amendola elevated the active roster because of the hip injury to Matt Prater. Kyler Murray, 28-42, 250 yards, 1 touchdown, a pick. He also ran 4 times for 42 yards. Marquise Brown, 8 for 78. Rondale Moore, 7 for 68. And James Conner had 9 carries for 55 yards, but then he left with a rib injury. He was looking really good, left with a rib injury. Their defense held strong throughout the game. They finished with 2 sacks, 6 quarterback hits. They're playing without starting center Rodney Hudson. He's got a knee injury, and that hurts them. And 2 of the team's backup running backs, Darrell Williams and Jonathan Ward, both got hurt during the game in the second half. So this is a huge problem. And I need to study more to find out. We get that information throughout the week. But you lose Connor to a rib injury, and then you lose 2 backup running backs. It's getting pretty thin. Seahawks coming off a 39-32 loss at the Saints. Geno Smith continued his excellent play. I mean, it was funny when we were talking about when have I taken these team total unders. I took them when Geno Smith when I knew he was going to be a quarterback, and now watching him third in the NFL with 8.3 yards per attempt is shocking. Tyler Lockett, 5 catches for 104 yards, 2 touchdowns. DK Metcalf, 5 for 88. He did lose a fumble. And then the sad news, they lose Rashad Penny to a fractured fibula. So Kenneth Walker comes in. So Penny's done for the year. Kenneth Walker comes in with 8 carries for 88 yards and a touchdown. This Seahawks defense looked awful again. 30.8 points per game is what they're allowing. They couldn't get stops. The Saints put up 235 yards on the ground. Even when you knew exactly what the Saints were going to do, the Seahawks had no way of stopping it. Tariq Woolen did have an interception. And the Seahawks also are dealing with more injuries. So Al Woods was the only guy doing anything for them on their pass rush. He had their only sack, and then he left with a knee injury. This is a team with only 8 sacks in the entire year. Gabe Jackson left with a hip flexor. That's their right guard. I mean, what the hell do you do with this game? Cardinals, Seahawks, Andy, take it away.
Yeah, the Seahawks are suddenly they're a top 10 offense. Like, Geno is quietly efficient. I guess he was hiding this away all these years because I was very out. Like, hand up, I was out on, they're having a competition with Drew Lock, and I know what Drew Lock is. I said that doesn't speak well to what's going to happen here for this offense. It's a team that's always like to run too much. I thought we were going to be, wasting these 2 really high-end wide receivers they have on this squad, and it's turned out to be a pretty fun offense. Defense is not good, and the total's 51 for a reason. He said slight move to the under. I think this total's probably fine. I'm going to pass on this one and live bet it. Cardinals second half is always something I'm looking at. Kyler has been, like you said, they haven't scored in the first quarter. He's been bad. It's like the opposite of the 49ers, Jimmy. It's like, hey, this is the Cliff Kingsbury scripted shit, and it just doesn't work. Like, he doesn't understand what works with his offense and what works with his what works with his young quarterback. And then we get to the second half, and Murray starts checking out of stuff and working out of structure, running, not called runs, and starting to roll out. Just like I said, out of structure stuff has worked a lot better. They've looked, kind of good. I don't think it's like Cliff Kingsbury adjustments. It's Kyler Murray adjustments. So I think I'm going to be betting. I hope Seattle looks good in the first half. I think I'm going to be taking Arizona here in the second half. I might even just trade this, right? Take like a small position on Seattle money line, and then take another position on Arizona money line. I think I can have them both at a plus number, and just have some fun trading this game back and forth. But yeah, it's and Birdie points out too, the fact that they're down running backs makes me think we're going to see maybe some of the things that made Arizona successful. So and it might not even be Arizona like against the spread. This might be Arizona, team total over second half. Just Arizona to score, because I worry that this blitz heavy defensive scheme is not going to work well against what Seattle's going to be putting up. So lean Seattle, but I'll be trading this and looking for Arizona second half.
That's a very, very interesting breakdown, man.
Did you have a lean here?
No, I wanted just to talk it out. I felt extremely uncomfortable with this spot. I guess what messed me up was the fact that the Seattle 2.5 was a plus money proposition to start, and then it became minus 104. So what were people seeing in Seattle other than a quarterback and 2 receivers that are kind of locked in? And then, as Birdie's saying, I guess what they were seeing was that Kenneth Walker looked really good. So, but losing Al Woods, I mean, if you watched Seattle, he was the only person you had to worry about in that pass rush. And now, knee injury. We'll have to see the extent of it.
And the pace, the neutral script, like throw away garbage time, throw away games where you're winning by 100 or losing by 100. But the pace for the Cardinals has picked up quite a bit. I wonder if that helps this offense as well.
Yeah, I'm going to need more time on this one for sure. And you have a very interesting way of handling it. And I know the cappers in the chat looking at the Kyler Murray rush prop as well. I've tried so hard to stay away.
I lost money on him immediately when he got into the league. I bet a prop bet that he would, his height would be under 5'10", and or whatever it was, and they measure him, and of course he's like an 8. And there's no chance. Like, again, that's it was probably like a $50 prop. I just thought was funny and bad. And I'm still more mad about that than almost anything else.
Okay, there. That is Cardinals Seahawks. Let's move on to 4:25 p.m. Eastern. Buffalo Bills at Kansas City Chiefs. This is the big one. Arrowhead Stadium, Kansas City, Missouri, 69 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 11 miles per hour. We all remember 13 seconds. 13 seconds that was left on the clock, and it was enough time for the Chiefs. 13 seconds. This one is going to be huge. I can't wait to watch this game. I wish it was the Sunday nighter. Yeah. We have these Chiefs opening up at +1.5. They're now +3. That +3 was available at -111 at 9:30 this morning. Now that +3 is -121. Then from a totals perspective, it opened up at 54. It is now at 53.5. Let's take a look at the cash flow on this one. We have 8,284 tickets in. 63% of the tickets and 70% of the cash is on the Chiefs, and the market clearly moving towards the Buffalo Bills. Then we have 81% of tickets on the over, but just 57% of the cash. So sharp money is on the under, and it's moved a half point towards the under. The Bills coming off a complete dismantling of the Pittsburgh Steelers, 38-3. They were up 31-3 at the half. Josh Allen was missing 3 wide receivers and a starting tight end. It didn't matter. He goes 20-31 for 424 yards, 4 touchdowns and a pick. He also ran 5 times for 42 yards. His 348 passing yards in the first half were tied for the second most in an NFL game since 1991. His 424 yards were the second most in team history, the most in a game ending in regulation, and he didn't even play in the fourth quarter. Gabe Davis caught 3 passes for 171 yards, 2 touchdowns. He became just the 5th NFL player since 2000 to have 2 touchdown catches of 60 or more in the same game. Stephon Diggs caught 8 passes for 102 yards and a touchdown. Rookie Khalil Shakir, 3 catches for 75 yards, first career TD. Defense got 3 sacks, 7 quarterback hits, and a pick, and this defense is getting healthier. So middle linebacker Tremaine Edmonds, hamstring, did not play. But they got back defensive tackle Ed Oliver. He'd missed 3 games with an ankle injury. They got back Jordan Phillips, who missed 2 games with a hamstring injury. I know that they've been hurt badly with injuries, but they're starting to get healthier. They lead the NFL in yards per play at 6.7, but they also are giving up just 4.4 yards per play. That's the second best mark in the NFL. This team is very, very good. The Chiefs are on short rest after winning 30-29 at home over the Raiders on Monday night. Mahomes 29-43 for 292 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. MVS, Valdez-Scantling, caught 6 passes for 90 yards. McCole Hardman, 4 for 73. Travis Kelce, what a line. This is one of the craziest lines. 7 catches for 25 yards and 4 touchdowns. What a beast. Yeah. What a beast. Jerick McKinnon, 8 carries for 53, caught 2 for 19. Their defense looked vulnerable to the deep ball, and they couldn't stop Josh Jacobs, who burned them for 154 yards on 21 carries. They finished with 2 sacks, 7 quarterback hits. Defensive tackle Tershawn Wharton tore his left ACL in the game, so he's done for the year. Offensive lineman Trey Smith, pectoral muscle, was inactive. He had started his first 21 games of the year. Defensive end Mike Dana and kicker Harrison Butker also were inactive. And this Chiefs team ranks 31st in opponent completion percentage. Ooh, you're playing the wrong team here. This is the big one, Andy. Bills, Chiefs, take it away.
Yeah, I thought we'd see tempered offenses last week because of maybe a bit of a look ahead spot to this game. Obviously, the Raiders had other ideas. Kansas City wasn't afforded that option. Buffalo did pull their quarterback after a while. It was a Keenum. Keenum came in. Once you're up 38-3, I guess you can pull your boy out. I kind of just looked at it, and I tried to make a case for this to be a cagey affair early, where it's like, all right, they feel each other out, but man, these teams have played each other. These teams have played each other in the playoffs. These teams know each other, and the Bills are getting healthier, but it's still kind of a beat up defense. And what Kelsey's been doing right now, and what Kansas City's been able to do with the triple header of running backs, how well they ran the ball at times, and really, I haven't been super impressed with. I mean, really, either team's defense. The Bills started out the season with that win at the Rams. Turns out the Rams aren't as good as we thought. The Titans are truly not a good team. The Bills put up a big one on them. The Dolphins game was an odd one. Definitely, if you go look at that box score, Bills deserve better. The Ravens game, I'm Team Ravens. I think that's a very, very good team. And then we had the blowout. So I think we could see a Bills team that gives up some points to a legitimately good offense, especially on the road here. But yeah, either one of these teams, it's once you're down, like if we get into a game script where somebody's down by 10, this over, like your under bets are kind of torched. Just feel like just what we saw. I had that team total under on Kansas City last week. But I was getting so pissed that I almost called them Oakland, that they were continuing to score. I'm like, just start kicking field goals, guys. I don't need this where they score fucking 4 touchdowns in the second half, and kind of what we ended up with. So I did play an over 55 at plus money. I just said, fuck it, I'm selling it up here. And I just not worrying about a slow start, watching these offense play well. Red zone percentage has been fine. And like you said, this getting healthier, but it's still not a super buy on a defense. I think it can be good if they get healthy against the right team. There's been some injuries for both offenses and the receiver course, but it hasn't seemed to matter. So just what I saw from, honestly, like Devontae Adams is very good, but other players on the Raiders were getting open, getting separation. If that's what Devontae Adams is going to do when you have to focus in on him, I think Josh Allen's going to be just fine in this one too. So looking for a lot of points here. I'm looking for the scoreboard to be bouncing around like a pinball machine on this. I'm thinking we're going to get a lot of like passes to these running backs. I think they need to start involving all of them a lot more. They've all played so well. McKinnon's a nice spot, and Pacheco's very good too. So Buffalo rumored that they were talking to Christian McCaffrey. Imagine that. Jesus H. Chrysler on a bicycle. That's scary to think about. But yeah, I have this one ending up at about 60 points. So I bet this over.
53.5 is still available. I got minus 114 at Bet Chris. Is that there? You have that up?
I did the thing where I expanded it, and I just bet 55 at plus 104.
55 at plus 104. I
think that's what I got. Yeah, it hasn't moved, so that's what I bet.
Over 55 at plus 104. I just want to take a quick peek here very quickly at Pinnacle because they often give real nice lines when you cheat here. Let's just see quickly on the NFL slate what they're going to give us here. So let's take a second. Every penny important here when we track everything. We have the total, if I cheat it to 55 plus 105. Oh, whatever. Give you a cent there.
There we go.
All right.
Take it.
Andy is on the over 55. Is this one of the situations where we see here, 81% of the tickets are on the over, but just 57% of cash? Is this one of those spots where the sharps are trying to outsmart everybody here, knowing that the public's going to be all over this over and be on the other side, fading the public?
And maybe, I mean, it's a high total. You got to end up with, You got to end up with 8 touchdowns here. It's a lot of points, but both these teams, I've seen both of these teams put up 4 touchdowns in a quarter. I mean, it's dynamic offenses. I mean, you saw what it was at halftime in the Buffalo game, and Kansas City. God damn, I remember that Kansas City game against the Texans where they were down 24-0, and just like that. And again, it was a Tyreek Hill team. It was a different offense, but oh boy, howdy when they get going. And yeah, I don't trust either defense to be high end against. I mean, essentially, your 2 front runners for MVP.
Oh, a lot of food for thought there. Great breakdown. Andy's on the over 55 at plus 105. No VIG to worry about there. Let's talk about the Sunday Nighter, and this one's going to be beautiful. Also, we're going to be live betting it right here on Pub Sports Radio. Dallas Cowboys at Philadelphia Eagles. The Cowboys 4-1, 2-0 on the road. Eagles 5-0, only undefeated team in the NFL, 2-0 home. And it's 59 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 6 miles per hour. Harold Williams in the house. What up, Harold? My guy. Let's take a look at
Harold. We're recording this. You can go back and watch it again.
Let's go back to the line history here quickly. And this is our Sunday Nighter. This one's going to be a lot of fun. The Eagles open up at -6. They're now at -5.5. From a total perspective, it opens up at 43. It's now at 42. We take a look at the cash, 8,461 tickets in, 26% of the tickets and 56% of the cash on the Eagles. Yet it's moved a half point in the direction of the Cowboys. Then you have 48% of the tickets and 92% of the cash on the under. I like that under. I want to bet that under, but let's talk it out before I do. The Cowboys coming off their 4th straight win, 22-10 at the Rams. Their defense completely dominated the defending Super Bowl champions. Cooper Rush had pedestrian numbers, but made no mistakes. Finished 10 of 16 for 102 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Don't get in the way. CeeDee Lamb, 5 catches for 53. Michael Gallup, 4 catches for 44. Tony Pollard, 8 carries for 86 and a touchdown. Zeke had 22 for 78. The defense is unbelievable. Wow. 5 sacks, 11 quarterback hits. They completely shut down the Rams running game. They held them to 15 carries for 38 yards. They held the Rams to just 87 yards in the second half when the Rams needed to step up. DeMarcus Lawrence scooped up the fumble, brought it back 19 yards to pay dirt, and it was just a 3rd play from scrimmage. Malik Hooker had an interception. Micah Parsons was limited in the second half by a groin injury, but he plans to play next week. Dan Quinn has a tough defense. And this is the toughest defense that Philadelphia has faced this year. The Eagles remain the NFL's only undefeated team. That was a tight 2017 win at Arizona, 5-0 for the first time since 2004. Jalen Hurts, 26 of 36 for 239 yards, also ran 15 times for 61 yards and 2 touchdowns. Goddard, 8 for 95. Devonta, 10 for 87. Miles Sanders ran 15 for 58. This defense didn't look quite as strong as it has been. 1 sack, 2 quarterback hits. C.J. Gardner-Johnson had an interception. Jake Elliott, their kicker, is still out with an ankle injury, and their left tackle, Jordan Mailata, with a shoulder injury, and they lost Landon Dickerson, their left guard, to a leg injury in the first quarter. Shout out to Wick. Thank you so much for the dono, my guy. This is our Sunday Nighter, Andy. Take it away, Cowboys, Eagles.
Yeah, it does, and I think somebody said something similar to what I was about to say. All the pressure's on Philly. Like if you'd have told Dallas, and let's just pretend in our mind, hypothetically, Dak comes back next week or even the week after. If you'd have told me like, hey, you're going to only lose 1 game with Cooper Rush starting a 4 or 5 game stretch, like fucking Jerry, everybody, Steven, they all shake hands, say that would be fucking lovely. If we can miss Dak for 4 or 5 games and we only lose 1 game, granted it's to a division opponent, that's not great, but boy, howdy, like they're playing with house money as far as, I feel like there's just no pressure on this team and all the pressure is on Philly. They're the undefeated team. They're getting, they're in the media's pumping them up at this point. They really haven't had a super signature win, I guess, yet. And, here we are at a spot where their team total is going to be 23.5 roughly. The Cowboys have not given up 20 yet. The most they've given up in a game this year was 19. I think was it 19 to 19-3 in that first game against the Buccaneers. But yeah, they beat the Bengals. They only gave up 17. They only gave up 16 to the Cowboys and 10 points the last 2 weeks against the Commanders and on the road against the Rams. Another tough one. If Mike is not 100%, that sucks. I think he'll play. I think he's going to be fine. Philly had some injuries up front, and Hurts really, I don't know, it hasn't been super tested yet. But this is a lot of points to be laying against a divisional foe with a defense that's just absolutely smothered. Much more experienced quarterbacks with some decent offenses here. So, well, I'd lean towards taking the points with Dallas here, but it's I feel like it's kind of when do we finally sell on this Dallas team with Cooper Rush playing? It's been a whole damn thing. I saved myself money. I thought it was going to get a 3 with the Rams last week. I said I'd bet a 3. I'd lay 3 with the Rams. This would maybe a get right spot against a defense that maybe could be beat over the top. And I'm glad we didn't get the 3 because I'd bet it and I got my shit pushed in on that one. Jesus. So I lean Cowboys here. Haven't bet this. And I do kind of like this under. I think it might get a better number. Philly has been really good in the first half, one of the best first half teams. And if we get a nice Philly lead and this total gets up into the mid to upper 40s, I think maybe they're able to keep this kind of a slow plotting, run the ball out, get to the finish line second half, and a live under comes in nice.
Yeah, I like that idea too. I'm going, even though we get to live bet it, which I love, I'm going to pregame. I'm gonna bet the under 42. I'm gonna bet it tonight.
Sure.
I want to have something in on that under, just in case. So I love this. This is going to be really, really, really fun. And I don't need to take a side here. I can understand why people like the Cowboys. For me, it would be Eagles or no bet. I don't want the Cowboys. I don't want to buy in high for them.
And truthfully, the Cowboys defense has been good. I just rattled off how many points they gave up, but 10 points to the Commanders, that's at home. That's nothing to write home about. The Rams have been kind of horrid lately. And like I said, they have a lot of issues. The Giants, that was kind of getting into their groove, despite that being up in New York, New Jersey. The Bengals are just horrid when you can get pressure. The Cowboys, that was a really good matchup against the Bengals there. And then the Buccaneers didn't really need to do anything in the second half because that Cowboys offense wasn't moving. I feel like the Buccaneers could have put up more points against the Dallas Cowboys. So let's not make them the 85 Bears quite yet. It's a very, very good defense, but they've yet to maybe face a high-end offense, a smart offense, a dynamic team like this. So this one, I kind of want to just watch this and enjoy it. Bet the second half.
Sky Dragon says the Cowboys defense is so overrated. It says if Hurts is competent, Philly puts up 30. I don't
know if I go that far, but I like that he's on my side here at least.
But the Eagles only put up 24 points against the Vikings. Now I know they were in complete control of that game, so that changes things. But I don't see how if the Eagles aren't in complete control of this game, then it's a low-scoring game. So, and Sky Dragon says none of the offenses Dallas has played can pass protect. And Birdie says the wrong team is favored here. Well, I don't need to take a side. And Birdie, and if you are right, this game goes under. So I like this spot. Do you want to make anything official here? Or are you just going to watch this?
No, I want to watch this. I want to enjoy this.
Let's move on to the Monday nighter. Broncos, Chargers. Damn, it's not nearly as exciting as our Sunday nighter, but we'll be betting it live.
Yeah, it's a decent game.
Yeah, it's a good one. Good one. Chargers are playing some good football now. Broncos 2-3, 0-2 on the road. Chargers 3-2, 1-1 at home. We're at SoFi in Inglewood. Let's take a look at the line history here for the Monday nighter. Again, this game isn't for 6 days, so it's an early look here. Chargers open up -5.5 at -110. They're now -5.5 at +103. This got up to +110 at 1 o'clock yesterday. So a clear move towards the Broncos, about a 14-cent move towards the Broncos. Take a look from the total. It opened up at 46.5. It's now at 46, so it's dropped a half point. Let's take a look at the cash flow for this one. Wilson, Herbert, 6,002 tickets in. 41% of the tickets are on Denver and 68% of the cash. That all makes sense. 14-cent move towards them. Bigger bets coming in on them. Makes sense. From a total perspective, they haven't given us the cash flow. They've only given us the tickets, and 94% of the tickets are on the under. 94% of the tickets on the under, and this total has dropped a half point. Broncos coming off extra rest after their ugly 12-9 home loss to the Colts. It was the first game in NFL history where they had quarterbacks against each other, which each had at least 4 Pro Bowl appearances, and it featured 0 touchdowns. So it was a wild one. Very questionable decisions from Nathaniel Hackett, and more terrible play from the $245 million man, Russell Wilson. Not kicking that field goal, was wild. And then to line up in a shotgun and throw it to Melvin Gordon over the middle. I know everyone talking about how open KJ Hamler was, but it was just the chain of events was so wild to me, and so such poor decision making again by Hackett. Oh, my goodness. Wilson, 21 of 39, 274 yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. He's throwing 4 touchdowns through 5 games this year. That's the worst start of his 11-year career. Cortland Sutton, 5 for 74. Jerry Jeudy caught 3 for 53. Melvin Gordon ran 15 times for 54 and caught 3 for 49. The defense looked strong. 6 sacks and 12 quarterback hits. Caden Stearns had 2 picks. They lost 2 starting defenders to knee injuries just before halftime. So they lose Josie Jewell. They lose Ronald Darby. These are big losses, and we'll go over all of them right now because the Broncos have a ton of injuries. They lose Ronald Darby, so Darby's out for the season. Garrett Bowles out for the season. Tim Patrick out for the season. Javonte Williams out for the season. Then hurt right now, you have Justin Simmons, Billy Turner, Jewell, Baron Browning, Jonathan Cooper, Randy Gregory on IR. How many injuries can you withstand here? The Chargers come in off a big 30-28 win on the road over the Browns. Staley, we talk about Nathaniel Hackett's questionable decisions. Staley made more questionable decisions. He got very lucky. It's, decisions that I wouldn't make. I do not think that Browns offense is capable of moving down the field with no timeouts. And yet on their own 46, he calls a timeout and then doesn't punt. It was just wild. Herbert came in leading the NFL in yards. He had the streak of consecutive road games with 300 yards. It stopped at 7. He threw for 228. But they completely dominated the game on the ground. Came in last in the league in rushing, 238 yards, 174 more than their average. Eckler, 16 carries for 173 yards, caught 4 for 26. He was a monster. Joshua Kelly looked good too. Ran 10 for 49, caught 2 for 33. Mike Williams caught 10 passes for 134 yards. That's his 5th straight 100-yard receiving game on the road. Impressive. That ties Jad Johnson for the AFC record and the NFL record 6. That's held by Jerry Rice, who's done it twice. Calvin Johnson, Michael Irvin. The defense did not look good. 0 sacks, 3 quarterback hits. Gilman did have a big pick. And you had Tyler Bertolet kicked a 27-yard field goal in his NFL debut. Dustin Hopkins still out with the quadricep injury. And the Chargers could very likely get Keenan Allen back. That's the situation. That's the table set for the Monday Nighter. Take it away, Andy. Broncos.
Yeah, Broncos are the best defense in the red zone this season, and they're also the worst offense in the red zone, which is, I don't know, maybe that's not some sort of a, huge accomplishment that no one's ever done before. But Denver, only scoring on 21% of their red zone possessions.
Wow.
I like this under, but if we end up with Keenan Allen back, maybe the Chargers are finally live in a home game here. Nice indoor spot. It is a tough defense. I do have this Denver Broncos defense ranked highly, but the injuries really do kind of worry me here. So I like the under, but if Keenan Allen's back and all these defensive injuries trend the wrong way for the Broncos, I like it a lot less. And like I said, the Broncos just can't score. The Chargers aren't, a lockdown defense by any means. So you go look what they did against the Texans, but it's I don't know. This is an under lean, but it's just so far out, and I need some injuries to get figured out first.
Yeah, and I guess you're right. If they announce Keenan's in, it'll slip up a little higher for us to take the under. Is that the thought process?
Yeah, and maybe if it gets bumped off based on that, I wouldn't mind a higher total to bet this under with.
Slatsy says unders 8-1, Denver, LA, last 9 in LA. Brady says, how many points do the Chargers have to score to cover 5.5 points? 21, 17. Says hard not to take the Chargers here. Lance LaRose says under it is. I get that, but we did see the Broncos go out on the road and put up, 23 or so against the Raiders? I'm interested in the under too. I'm interested in the under in all Broncos games, but I would like to hear that Keenan's in and it to go up to 47.
I just worry that there is some signal to a good red zone defense, and the Denver Broncos have been that. Granted, there's been some shittier opponents they've played, I guess, but if the Broncos can get anything going on offense and they can't maintain like a sub 30% red zone defense, Keenan Allen's in, the injuries pile up a little on the defense. This is probably a pass game for me.
Well, I'm excited about this spot. Broncos Chargers will be live betting it right here on Pub Sports Radio, and I
think Wilson's still hurt.
That shoulder issue is a problem because I do not trust this Chargers football team at all. They've done nothing at this point. I'd like to hear Keenan Allen's in and see if that changes both the total. Because at this point, I would be on the Broncos and the under, but I'm going to wait. Hear about Keenan Allen. Keep an eye on the market. We're 6 games away, so Broncos and under. And then I want to know a little more about Russell Wilson's injury issues. There we go. Perfect Rotation says 2 trash head coaches in primetime. Yeah, it's going to be some poor decision-making, which hopefully we can make cash on. That is your NFL Week 6 breakdown. Let's review all action here. And thank you guys so much for rolling with us. Again, Andy coming off 3-0 board sweepage. I went 7-3, so we're both coming off nice-looking weeks. The Thursday nighter, Commanders Bears, no move for either of us at this time. Andy gets his card started with the Falcons +6 at -115, and I'm again going to go back to the well with the Niners first quarter, first half, but I have no need or no pressure to bet it now. I can wait, especially if the market continues to move to the Falcons. And he's on the over 42.5 at -110 in Patriots Browns. And I want Patriots team total over and the points. So I'm going to look pretty closely at that as soon as we get off. Andy is on the over 46 in Jets Packers at -105. I'm going to move on the Colts tonight. Moving on the Colts tonight. A possible over in the Vikings-Dolphins game, but we need to know about Teddy Bridgewater. Bengals Saints, we are staying off. I'm interested in the Ravens against the Giants, but I'm not entirely sure how to handle it. 3.5 first half, 5 full game. I need more time. Andy has a teaser. Bucks -2, Jags +8 is his teaser. Then the under move to the first half under in Panthers Rams. First half under is what I plan to attack. Kyler Murray rush prop, I can understand. I'm trying to stay away from any kind of player props. But that's Cardinals Seahawks. Then Andy's on the over 55 at +105 in Bills Chiefs. And then I'm moving on the under 42 tonight on Cowboys Eagles. Again, we'll live bet that game. And Broncos and under is my early plan. And I'm going to wait and hear what happens if Keenan Allen is announced in. That is our show. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Slatsy, Terry Walker, Alex Gagnon, Lance LaRose, Harold Williams, MDR24. Thank you for the kind words. Says the show is awesome, informative, and fun. Just excellent. Thank you, MDR. Wick in the house. Fanatical Jim, Nutflush Allen, Papa Cal's, Perfect Rotation, Christopher Comentini, Terry Walker. Thank you guys all. Thank you, Birdie, DX Filer. Thank you for your support. I love it. I love this show. I love working with you, Andy. And you can catch Andy over at BetSperts. And of course, he is the star of the Deep Dive podcast, along with the Whale Capper. Andy, my man, any last words before we put a bow on this one?
No, let's just keep doing it up. It's been a fun season so far. Keep getting after it here. Looking forward to it.
Go out and get the fucking money. Big thanks to Victor producing the show tonight. Victor, absolutely great job. I love working with you.
Yep, solid B+ production today, I'd say. I don't give out A's. That's just me.
I love it, Victor. Thank you all. Now let's go out there and get the fucking money.